So Cornel West, it's official, has his first hit piece. So yes, the Daily Beast has slapped a hit piece against Cornel West. This is in reference to taxes. So they're claiming that he has unpaid taxes. I don't know what's going on with everybody trying to look at tax stuff this year. It's really interesting to me. They came after Matt Taibbi. Actually, the IRS showed up at Matt Taibbi's house. Really interesting. But yes, first hit piece to Cornel West. It says Cornel West owes more than $500,000 in unpaid taxes. Look at this decline of the West. Boy, I tell you. The presidential candidate has made raising taxes on the rich a fixture of his campaign. He shorted the IRS more than the median salary in 6 of the last 20 years. So here we go. Veteran Ivy League professor and best-selling author Dr. Cornel West has long advocated for taxing the rich to provide more services to America's lower classes. But the academic turned Green Party presidential candidate isn't living up to those standards in his own life. As public records from New Jersey and California show, West owes the IRS hundreds of thousands of dollars in back taxes. I just want to start off and say, I don't think this is the smear they think it is. And the reason being is because there are a lot of people that owe taxes. You know, next time I interview Cornel West, I'll ask him about this. But there are a lot of people that owe taxes, especially a lot of working class people that owe taxes as well. And the average Joe Schmo going to kind of look at this and be like, oh, I hope they don't come after me or look for me. This really is just not the... This really is just like not the thing. Like they tried to use this against Trump, remember? And it didn't matter. Let's go on. West's lament of the concentration of wealth among the nation's elite and his support for fiscal policies that would funnel funds down the social scale have been an enduring theme of his decades-long career as a public intellectual, from his initial appearances on the national scene in the 1990s to his support of both Senator Bernie Sanders' failed presidential bids to his current sally along the 2024 campaign trail. Taxation without representation is now reflected in policies that allow the wealthy to be coddled and undertaxed, while the perennially poor, working poor, and new poor are ignored and rendered invincible. West and co-authored and alleged sex pest Tavis Smiley, they're still saying this about Tavis Smiley. You see this? Wrote in their 2012 book, The Rich and the Rest of Us. Economic justice in America has been overshadowed by greed because unequal taxation benefits the rich at the expense of everyone else. In the recent interview with Semaphore, West maintained that we've got to have taxes that are higher, much higher, while he told the New York Post that first son Hunter Biden now lapsed plea deal to misdemeanor tax charges amounted to a little slap on the wrist, especially compared to the penalties the spawn of less powerful families face. But materials filed in Mercer County, New Jersey, where West owns a home in the upper crust college town of Princeton, and in Los Angeles, the location of his personal attorney's office, reveal a second secret motive to his hugely lucrative professional life: a failure to pay his own taxes. Do you remember when they did this to Wesley Snipes? You guys remember when they came after Wesley Snipes and they said that he didn't pay his taxes? Then come to find out he actually had overpaid, if I remember correctly. These documents show a total of over $543,000 in outstanding federal tax liens against the professor, activist, and writer. After repeated emails, calls, and text messages from the Daily Beast to the West campaign, to interim campaign manager Jill Stein, and to West himself, the professor sent a one-line response from his personal Gmail account. My brother, I have asked my accountant to respond to these charges, some of which are not true. So see, this is why I say, like, I can talk to Cornel West about this next time he comes back on. Let me continue. However, correspondence from the accountant was not forthcoming, and West did not respond to the Daily Beast's subsequent request that he provided documentation that contradicts the public records from New Jersey and California. These records show that for all his tirades against the wealthy in almost every one of the years recorded, West owed more in unpaid taxes than the median American household earned. This includes over $85,000 he shortened the IRS in 2017, over 136,000 in 2016, over 82,000 in 2015, over 98,000 in 2014, over 62,000 and over 77,000 way back in 2005. The IRS has not filed a release for any of these liens, meaning they remain open or have only been repaid inside the last 30 days. So if we're going all the way back to 2017, that's how many years ago? Oh, wait, no, they said 2014. They said 2005. Okay, so the fact that the IRS hasn't, released this for any liens or something like that, you can only go so long without paying taxes before the IRS comes for your shit. I'm just keeping it real for you guys. So if they're going all the way back to 2005, wouldn't the IRS have already came for his belongings by now? Just something to think about. Let's continue. It is possible West has entered a payment plan with the IRS and paid some of the outstanding balance on these liens, but neither the candidate nor his campaign made any claim to this effect to the Daily Beast. So what is bothersome to me, and I'll come back to that part. Notice in this article, where is the receipts? That's why I'm like, this kind of seems like a hit piece. Where are the receipts? Where are the receipts with these amounts that they listed here in this article? Let's continue. The county level filings also expose West as a perennial tax delinquent for almost his entire tenure in the public eye. On top of the sums listed above, he piled on over $700,000 in liens in a 6-year period, ending in 2004, a balance he finally paid down in 2010. He also welched on $34,000 tax debt in 2008, which he finally made good on 4 years later. So what? Let me say something here. And I don't even know if this is true, but sometimes when you file taxes, and let's say you owe, right? So for me, it's a little bit different. I don't have an accountant. I don't have much. Okay. So I don't need an accountant. I can just do my taxes myself. But for people like Dr. West, they're more likely to have an accountant, like handle this stuff. Here's the thing. Sometimes if you owe taxes, you have that option of signing up for the payment plan where you can make a payment each month and get that balance down. And it can take a year. Sometimes it can take more than that. So what I don't understand, why are they crapping on the fact that he paid it off, according to this, that he paid it off? Why is that a problem? You guys see what I'm saying? Who cares if it took a couple years or so to pay it off? It's paid off. So why are they making a big deal out of that? Let's continue. Additionally, documents the IRS submitted in California reveal that West racked up over $46,000 and over $112,000 in tax debt in 2011 and 2012, respectively. The materials from the Los Angeles County Clerk's Office also show West finally resolved these liens on June 14th of this year. Okay, so if it was resolved, then why are you writing about it? This doesn't make any sense. Thank you, Dana. This article is so obviously ridiculous. They don't even have any receipts. New Jersey court records further indicate Harvard and Princeton educated son of the Defense Department contractor is a deadbeat in more ways than one. A $49,000 child support judgment against him from 2003 remains open to this day. Where's the receipts? William Brederman? Guys, don't you always notice when the Gray Zone does these articles and they talk about funds? Haven't you noticed that the Gray Zone always put the receipts in the article? Where's the receipts? But it goes on. It's not even just that. It's not even just that. This piece here from Politico, they're already trying to start the fear-mongering. Biden world moves to stave off Cornel West and no labels threat. Democrats fear repeating history from third-party challengers threatening Biden's 2024 bid. It goes on to say here, I just want to read a small part from here. Inside the party, there are bubbling concerns of a repeat from what happened 7 years ago when Green Party candidate Jill Stein drew more votes in 3 critical battleground states than the amount by which Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton in those places. Why are they acting like this is the first time in history we've had people run third party for president? Just something to think about. Something to think about. And I'm going to point out something else I've been noticing as well. Operatives are determined to not let it happen again. Cornel West, prominent academic and civil rights leader with the ties to Senator Bernie Sanders, has already launched a bid on the Green Party ticket as Biden looks to fend off that threat on his left. Senator Joe Manchin has flirted with a presidential run with the group No Labels that Democrats fear could deprive Biden of moderate votes. Though the president's re-election team has preached confidence, some Democratic officials and strategists worry that the urgency to vote for Biden has dissipated for some voters since Trump left the White House. They are anxious that young people in particular might be receptive to West's message. And why would that be? Why would some young people be receptive to Cornel West's message? What is he running on that young people actually care about versus what Joe Biden ran on and what Joe Biden's done since he's been in office? It says that younger voters, Democratic primary voters, don't want Biden to be nominated again, in largely part because of his age. Though his aides insist that he is in great shape physically and mentally, he is also 80, the oldest president ever. The third parties can take away enough votes to make Donald Trump win. Third parties don't take away votes. See, that's another thing they don't they totally get that wrong. Not only do you have No Labels, but you have Cornel West, which I think is very formidable also in the Black community and among young people. And I think that there were a lot of people, young people, disaffected people who were willing to vote against Trump, anybody but Trump, to beat Trump. But that argument has worn a little thin with some of its disaffected voters in 2024. And why has that happened? Because Joe Biden hasn't delivered. But they want you to just vote for him anyway. You know, like, this is crazy. It's just a hot mess. There was one more part here I wanted to mention. This part right here. Biden's world has been monitoring West and No Labels. But those closest to Biden believe that the memory of Stein and the possibility of another Trump presidency will prevent a third party candidate from drawing much support in 2024. I want to point out something. Notice how they never mention Howie Hawkins. Have you guys ever noticed that? You know why? Because Joe Biden won in 2020. They mentioned Jill Stein because Jill Stein ran in 2016 and Hillary Clinton lost in 2016. But I also think they don't mention Howie Hawkins because I really do feel like Howie Hawkins, at the end of the day, he kind of wanted him. Especially when it comes to war, the way that he's been talking in reference to war recently, he's kind of like one of them in a sense. But pay close attention to these things, guys. They never mention him. They never mention Gary Johnson. Gary Johnson's numbers for the Libertarian Party were actually historic. They never mention Gary Johnson. They never say those Gary Johnson voters would have voted for Trump. These are things you got to pay attention to. But they're afraid, and they're more afraid of Cornel West than they are of Marianne and RFK Jr. And I want to explain why. Because Marianne and RFK Jr., when they don't get the super delegates, which we all know how this is going to go, when the DNC tries to cheat again and doesn't give them the super delegates that they need to actually become the Democrat nominee, that means Biden moves on to the general election, and it'll be Biden and either Trump or DeSantis, whatever happens over on that side of the block, and Cornel West. They fear Cornel West more because Cornel West can still stand in the general election. Whereas if Marianne and RFK Jr. lose the Democratic primary, they are no longer in the general election. But Cornel will be. He'll still be there. That's why they're really afraid of Cornel West. Now, unless Marianne or RFK Jr. flip and run independent, which I don't think is going to happen, they're going to have to deal with Cornel West in the general presidential election. And they're scared. They're really scared. They're going to come up with all kinds of stories. So the one that you just heard about the taxes, this is just the beginning. But they need to understand a lot of people, especially those of us in the Black community, we really don't care about this shit. This is so funny to me when people say like, oh, so-and-so didn't pay their taxes. The rest of us are just kind of like, man, we don't care. That's not the gotcha that they think it is. People usually care about stuff like that, like the bougie, upper crust. Let's go get brunch on the rooftop and sip the tea with their pinky fingers in the air kind of people. The rest of us don't care about that shit. Okay. And if you haven't had a chance to do so, make sure you hit that like button. If you're a newbie, subscribe if you like what you see. I clicked the wrong one. There we go. Hit that like button. That helps me out with the algo. And let's go ahead and dive into this poll. I'm curious to see what you guys had to say. I'm curious. All right. Which candidate do you feel has the best policies? All right, 926 votes. That's pretty good. Marianne Williamson has 2%. Cornel West has 79%. RFK Jr. has 17%. Joe Biden has 2%. Who put Joe Biden? Oh, well, Joe Biden has 2%. So this is something to show people. For everybody thinks that my audience is all one way. They're not. Just look at how people voted. So this goes to show you not everybody that watches me is, for Cornel West, even though I am. Not everybody that watches me is, for Marianne or for Biden or RFK. There's a little bit of a mixture, but it is obvious that most of the people watching me either like Cornel West or RFK Jr. But there's a little bit of a mixture there. I don't know about the Biden one though. I don't know where that came from. Thank you for the super sticker, Queen Lioness of Israel. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Dana says IRS can freeze your bank accounts for non-payment of taxes. Those bums. Creative Experiment says, sounds like Cornel just needs to file a few amendments. Not a big deal. You go. Thank you for the super sticker, Leslie. And thank you, Sam. I guess I have to weigh the information in this article about West against the legacy of the man who, one, voted for and vehemently supported the Iraq war, and two, was the architect of the crime bill. There you go. Exactly, Sam. There you go.